Welcome to Lumen, a podcast that sheds light on mental health, relationships, and what it means to be human. I'm Christopher Mooney, LCSW.
And I'm Kenyon Phillips, LMSW. Each episode, we unpack psychological patterns that affect our relationships. No jargon, no judgment.
Just thoughtful conversations to help you understand yourself and others a little more clearly.
We're in this weird time right now where we're technically more connected than we've ever been through social media, internet, and yet we're also more alone than we've ever been. There is a loneliness epidemic.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like we kind of have all these social media apps and we have our phones right on us all the time. You know, we have this ability in our hand to kind of be connected at all points of any time of the day.
To always be available.
Always available. Always ready to answer text. And yet people are really feeling lonely and they're feeling more disconnected now than they've ever felt before. And so today I was thinking we could actually talk about really what is behind that loneliness epidemic and what is making all of us feel so alone and so disconnected when everything that we see is kind of pointing towards this idea that we're supposed to be more connected and more involved.
Have you noticed that it's harder to get somebody on the phone since the pandemic? Like, I can't just call anybody anymore.
No.
I need to text before I call to confirm that they'll actually pick up the phone. I noticed that during the pandemic, actually, when everyone was sitting at home on lockdown.
Right. Nobody was going anywhere and everybody was pining for somebody to talk to at that time. Yet you had to text and say, hey, are you available? Like, can I call you? Are you ready? Yeah. We had this whole thing, right? Where you had to like reach out and preemptively like prepare somebody for a phone call. Everything in society now is telling us that we have to be more connected in that we have every tool at our disposal to feel more connected, but people are experiencing more anxiety and more depression and more loneliness, I think, than we've ever seen before. And there's this weird contradiction with kind of what we see every day with kind of what we're experiencing. And I think I think the rise of social media and screen time and phones have really, they are kind of the sole contributor to why this is happening and why people are feeling more depressed.
I agree. Give me a scenario of loneliness.
Say somebody opens their phone and they look, open, let's say Instagram, and you can see, oh, I have 500 followers, I have 800 followers, whatever it might be, 3,000 followers. How many of those people do you actually know, right? How many of those people do you really feel
like you could call?
Like you could pick up the phone and call, like, or a true connection to.
Right.
And I think the thing is we wake up in the middle of the night and you can't sleep. So you roll over, you pick up your phone, you start looking through things. Everything you see is kind of curated to make it seem like life is perfect. Life is okay. Like life is going.
Oh yeah. Well. Everyone is this image of their ideal self.
Right. So,
and then I start comparing and despairing.
You start comparing and despairing in the middle of the night. And then you start to feel that sense of loneliness creeping because you don't have anybody to share that feeling with, right? And what happens is that you're sitting there and kind of spiraling all of a sudden on self-judgment, comparison, anxiety, and it's all because everything else looks like it's way more put together and you're the only one suffering. Those words sound extreme, but like when you really think about it, it's this feeling of I'm suffering here and everyone else seems to be flourishing. And how many of those people can I actually reach out to and say, hey, I'm having a hard time. Think of who you know or who knows you the best in your life and assign that person a percentage, right? And this is a good exercise for anyone listening too. Think of the person that is the closest to you and that knows you the best, and then give them a percentage up to 100 being they know you the most. And I would bet money that maybe if they've been in your life forever, they might be in the 80s or 90s. Mm-hmm. Most people that I talk to the numbers that they assign for the person who knows them the most, it's like 60s, 50s.
Yeah, that's around 50%.
Sometimes it gets up into the 70s. And that's if somebody has somebody like they've been maybe in a relationship for like 20 years, right? So when you start to look at that phenomenon of how well, like the person who knows you the best, how well do they know you? And then how well connected are we? I think there's this relationship with that. And that's where we really have to do a lot of work, right? And a lot of like, how do we push that connection? How do we feel more connected to somebody else?
Is that because we've just become more and more superficial as time goes on? Like we're sharing less?
We're sharing less of what is vulnerable to us. We're sharing less of what is true and authentic to who we are. I think what happens is that we start posting opinions online. We post pictures online. We present what we think everybody wants to see. Mm-hmm. This is what I want everybody to see.
Like an advertisement for themselves.
I'm certainly not going to be posting any videos or photos of the shit show that is my existence, like at any point, right?
Right.
So the things I post online, pictures of my kids, like hikes I go on. Look, I'm trail running today. Check this out. I'm not posting like my sweaty ass hauling up a hill and looking gross. I'm like, hey, look at this landscape. And so when you think about it, like
everything's idealized.
It all looks nice. And I can share with people about that and I push myself to do that. But I think that's what happens is that we're just so used to putting out snippets and chunks of these really nice looking moments.
Right.
And
again, like commercials.
Totally. So if you put that stuff out, Kenyon, all of a sudden I'm looking at your life going, man, I really want whatever he's got going on. Mm-hmm. Like, look at that. Look at his yard. Look at what's he doing with his kids today. Like that looks really good. You're not sharing with me any of the difficulties, right, that you have with parenting or being a dad or whatever's going on with work. And all I'm doing is making an assumption that everything looks really good on your side of the fence. And I don't have that. But if I share that with you, all of a sudden I have to really put myself out there because you've got it so much better. And I'm going to share with you how awful everything I've got going on is.
Again, it's a comparative dynamic.
There's no matchup, right?
And so how do we connect if this is what we're up against? How do we get real?
Yeah, that's the $1 million question. So we have to start looking at like, how do we push back on those moments of what we're sharing? How do we match our insides with our outsides? We talk about authenticity. So I'm wondering like when you hear me say like, hey, we need to be more authentic, what resonates for you?
Showing you the stuff that wouldn't get in the commercial, that wouldn't make the cut.
The major B-roll.
Yeah, I mean authenticity. Like I think about it within the context of a love relationship, a romantic relationship, a partnership.
Yeah.
I'm really not being probably my most authentic when I'm in the courtship phase because I'm trying to get you to like me.
Yeah. Remember, that's fawning. Remember,
that's fawning.
We talked about that.
This is why fawning is such a revelation for me.
Yeah.
And can you just recap fawning for anybody who hasn't heard the other episodes?
Fawning is when it's a stress response that when we feel triggered, we end up fawning or kind of trying to please the other person so that they won't hurt us or judge us or dislike us. In this case, you're talking about like you're trying to get somebody to really like you, right? So you're going to show them all the good stuff so that they're not going to have any judgment against you or criticize you in any way that might be hurtful. If I see the real you, what am I really going to think about you? Like that's an awful thought and feeling to have as a human being. Like I'm separate here. I'm different. They're not going to accept me.
Oh, absolutely. And I'm talking about like those early days of a relationship, jumping out of bed before my girlfriend wakes up so I can brush my teeth so I don't have morning breath so she thinks I'm perfect, and then fast forward to like we've been married for 15 years and I don't do any of that stuff anymore. No. I'm more willing to be authentically myself.
Yeah.
Authentically unsexy in my case.
It's just humanly gross.
Right.
Like that's because humans are gross.
Totally.
It reminds me, there was the show, The Marvelous Miss Maisel.
Yeah.
There's this scene where she would wake up before her husband and like put on all the makeup and get dressed up and everything, jump back in bed so that when he woke up, he would see her
This idealized version.
in the perfect picture. And then going to bed at night, same thing. Wait for him to fall asleep, jump up, put the curlers in, put the
Right.
netting over her hair, like all of it. And I think it's the same thing, right? We don't want people to see the real us. And in all honesty, being human is really, it's hard. It's kind of gross sometimes. It smells. It's like, it's full of.
We're monkeys.
We are monkeys without much hair.
Right.
And as I get older, there's much and much less hair.
and then there's more hair where you don't want it.
That's for another episode. I don't even want to discuss those things.
It's true though. So how do I get to a place where I feel comfortable being vulnerable with other people?
It's practice. It's practice
Mm-hmm.
and more practice. And one of the dilemmas I think we face, which is why it kind of goes back to this not feeling connected, we will do everything we can to avoid conflict and feeling uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
And if we have to practice being vulnerable and pushing ourselves into that place of authenticity,
Mm-hmm.
it's become uncomfortable for us, and we're going to avoid it at all costs.
Mm-hmm.
So what we end up doing is just either isolating a little bit more, or presenting, or not being authentic, or just kind of putting up a bit of a facade. And keep in mind, none of these things we're talking about are at like the total kind of like critical level or malicious. This is like low level, consistent incongruence with our insides and what we show the world.
Mm-hmm.
So if we think about the things we need to do to align those so that we are more in touch with who we are inside,
Mm-hmm.
that's what we have to practice. That might come through work. It might come through artistic expression. It might come through meditation. It might come through just going out for a coffee with a friend or somebody that you're kind of close with, but not really. And like pushing a little bit more, pushing into a relationship just a little bit more
Mm-hmm.
to find out what else you can about the other person, and then maybe sharing a little bit more about yourself.
I agree with that. I think having the courage to reveal
Yeah.
something about us, who we actually are. I will say this. The moment somebody is vulnerable with me, my heart opens up to them. I feel
Absolutely.
love in a way.
Yeah.
The moment somebody admits something that they're struggling with, my whole self just opens up and I become more receptive to them. And then I'm inspired to share something authentic about me, a vulnerability about myself.
Sure. Now I want you to just take that one step back. So before the you sharing part, think about your role as a therapist.
Mm-hmm.
In the moment that another person sitting in the room with you actually like opens up and shares something super vulnerable, right? And the impact that has on you just as a therapist. And then, so if we look at that, right, in that dynamic in therapy, and then we can start to look at the therapeutic relationship a little differently, right? It isn't this cold
Right.
person sitting with a clipboard going, yeah, fascinating, and writing
Tell me
something
about your
down.
mother.
Right. Everything's about your mother. All my problems are about your mother.
Right.
It's about this human connection suddenly.
Right.
And it's boundaried and it's healthy and it's safe, or it becomes that. Your responsibility as a therapist is to contain that. What you're doing is you're actually allowing somebody to push into that area that they don't like. They can be more vulnerable.
To practice.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's one of the barriers to a lot of times people starting therapy is, I don't want to go sit in front of some stranger and just spill everything that I have. Yeah, I don't want you to either. That would be awful for you and overwhelming for
Anybody who's hearing it.
Absolutely.
Right.
You wouldn't do that at getting a coffee with a friend. I mean, some people do, and then that they get kind of, other people get burned out by those people, right? So what we do is we teach people how to do that. How do you share about yourself in a more kind of contained way? Right. That's not restricted. So it's contained is different than restricted. I like to think of like going bowling and putting the bumpers down the sides of the bowling alley, right?
That's a perfect visual for it.
And it is like, so if I really just wanted to get strikes every time, those bumpers would be really close, but they're not. They're out wide. They're just in the gutter. You can go all over that lane. You can almost not make it down to the pins, but at least you're not going in the gutter, right? So, and that's what we need to think about in this sense. There's a lot of space to move back and forth. There's a lot of space to kind of experience like that interaction, but there's some guides there that are going to help you get down the bowling lane a little bit and maybe knock over a pin or two. And so I always think of therapy in this kind of human interaction, relational kind of connection. There's many different kinds of therapy too. This just happens to be the one that I think it resonates for both of us. Like when I met you, I was like, oh, this is totally you too.
It was, and it is. And I think when I met with you, the first time I met you, I felt connected. You have a knack for cultivating connection. And I think that's what I'm aiming to do with clients. And connection isn't about fawning.
Right. That seems fake.
It's
right?
not people pleasing. It's not like, oh, hey, great. Everything's great. Everything you're saying is great. You want to kill your mom? Great.
Yeah.
Outstanding. But no, it's like listening, actively listening is a big part of cultivating connection, I think.
What is active listening? Tell me what.
Active listening, what I mean is asking a question, inviting a response, an open-ended question, and then not like looking at my watch or zoning out while they're talking, while they're responding to the question I asked. It's part body language, nodding, engaging, leaning forward, responding, saying things like, yeah, I get it. For me, that's part of active listening. That's the way I do it. Eye contact.
That helps. Outside of therapy, what is active listening like in your personal life?
In my personal life, it's kind of the same thing. I think about when my 7-year-old or my 4-year-old come home from school and they have something to show me.
Right.
And I say, oh my God, yeah, show me. What did you got? What do you have? And maybe it's a drawing. Maybe it's a story about something that happened. And I respond to them in real time.
And there's something that's typically not in your hand when you do that. What is that?
A phone. The phone is not in my hand.
So, and I want you to think about this.
Yeah.
How often when we're standing in a line, waiting, just sitting, just anything, do we just, even if you're standing with somebody, how often does the hand go to the pocket and pick up the phone to check it?
Yes, we're like Gollum with the ring. Or even Bilbo or Frodo with the ring as the ring of power gains its strength.
Yeah, it is. And so here you have this opportunity to actually connect with somebody. Now, it could be your 7-year-old, 4-year-old, it could be your neighbor talking about whatever. It could be your neighbor who disagrees with you on everything politically, but you're still neighbors. And
you mean like talking over the fence?
Yeah, kind of talking over the fence, kind of. Yeah. And here we are still reaching for this weight in our pocket. That, by the way, symbolizes connection, right? So we're going, oh yeah, like I got to check. I got to see who wrote me, who texted me, what did I miss?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, FOMO.
But there's a person right in front of us that we're not actually speaking to.
It's true. Look at a restaurant. When you go to a restaurant and you just see the sea of people, two tops.
Yeah.
Just two people sitting at a table at a restaurant and they're each on their phone.
Yeah. And not saying anything.
Not saying a word.
Because I know there's sometimes it's like, hey, the menus, the pictures, let me show you this thing, whatever it might be. But really where there's silence. And I would ask people to like look at your own life. Does that happen? And it's okay if it does, because now you've brought it into the forefront of your mind. So now you can make a change. But also look around and see how often that happens.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And how often do we avoid saying the thing to the neighbor just because we don't want to, we're afraid of, interacting, we don't want to get caught up with it, or we're too busy with whatever's right in front of us on this device.
It's true.
Yeah. I don't want to make it all about just the device, but I think it does.
The device is ubiquitous though.
It is.
And it is a problem. Like I love the grocery store scenario we talked about earlier. You're online at the grocery store.
It's Trader Joe's when you go and they strike up a conversation with you. That's like a thing they do on purpose.
They do it on purpose to cultivate connection.
Now imagine if this person's talking about the dark chocolate peanut butter cups that I get every time we go to Trader Joe's. And I just like, yeah. And I pick up my phone and I just start scrolling through
That's
my
what I'm talking
phone
about.
while they're ringing.
Sorry, I need to check my phone. Important call, important text. Oh, I'm working.
I'm working.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And yet there's a human being trying to make contact with me. Why do I get so uncomfortable in line at the grocery store?
That's a good question. We didn't used to be uncomfortable, like just interacting with people in the same way. I think that there's also this other factor that's playing into this too, where the more we're on our phones and being inundated with anything, news, clips, videos, sound bites, what happens is that it's extremes. It's not always, but it is extremes, right?
Mm-hmm.
I explain it with an extreme. It's always this way. No, it's not always this way.
Extremes are good for explanation, though.
Right. Yeah. It's always this. It's a cognitive distortion, actually, which we can get to at some point.
Right.
No. So we have a lot of experience now in these moments that we're being inundated with black, white, left, right, up, down. Like everything is one end of the spectrum or the other. And there's really no talk about the entire gray area. And if we want to get really existential about it, like there's only one thing we know with certainty. There's only one black and white thing in life, and that's it. Begins and it ends. Right?
Correct.
And so really everything else that we experience in life is in the gray area on that spectrum.
Mm-hmm.
But we're kind of consuming information in extremes, and we're consuming information in a very black and white manner. So what happens is that we're too afraid to actually engage with people, because we're afraid that if we do, like, I don't know my neighbor's political beliefs or how they feel about Trader Joe's dark chocolate peanut butter cups. They might like the milk chocolate ones. Mm-hmm. And what am I going to do when I go up to him and have to talk to him about my experience at Trader Joe's?
Right.
Or maybe I don't like the snack that the guy at Trader Joe's who's ringing me out is going to talk to me about how they love it. And
so you're fearing difference.
I think ultimately it's a fear. And because I love to reduce everything to our fear because we're human beings, but I think it's uncomfortable.
I think, you know what though? You can talk about reduction, but I believe there's a lot of evidence for this, that every single human behavior is motivated by either fear or love.
Oh, I like that. Okay. By fear or love. Let that marinate for a bit. Well, this is interesting because I always talk about anger being a secondary response, always. Like every single instant that anyone's ever had anger can be explained by pain or fear.
Right.
So there's this reduction. So anger is always a secondary emotion.
Right.
But yeah, so I like this. We're motivated by pain or love, or fear or love.
Fear or love. Like arguably every behavior is a manifestation to a certain extent of fear or love. It's rooted in fear or it's rooted in love.
Okay.
And I would say what you're describing here is a fear of difference. Fear of, really, it's almost like an anticipatory fear of disconnection. So, if you don't agree with me about my politics, if you don't agree with me about the dark chocolate peanut butter cups at Trader Joe's, then we are going to have a problem.
We're going to have a problem, but the bigger issue here is, that we're going to have a problem is the reaction. But we need to look past that. So we have responses and we have reactions. What we want to do as human beings is function in a world of response, not reaction. Reaction is that knee-jerk survival, fight or flight, anger, whatever it is. That first thing is like,
going from 0 to 11.
The pang in your gut and whatever it tells you to do. That's reaction. What we want to do is step back, even when we're feeling that. Work on saying, okay, this is what I'm feeling. What is my response now? And a response is more thought out and more of a calculated kind of understanding of the situation.
Mm-hmm.
When we respond, we're able to better navigate and actually stay connected and engage with the other person. And so the we're going to have a problem is a reaction.
Right.
What that interaction is actually triggering in us is this core, and I think we talked about this in our last podcast, right? When we talked about the things that trigger anxiety, like anxiety and fight or flight, freeze or fawn, it's survival. And suddenly, if somebody doesn't agree with the thing that I have kind of like started to like or enjoy or have going on. So that could be things that we do. It could be behaviors, beliefs. It can be things that we feel about ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
If suddenly somebody else disagrees or just happens to be doing something differently, my core lizard brain worry about that is that I don't fit in.
Mm-hmm.
And if I don't fit in, I'm going to be left out of the herd. And if I'm left out of the herd, then I'm going to be out in the cold and can't eat and suffer. And so when we look at like, we have real kind of like, Neanderthal kind of, if that's the appropriate thing to say, kind of like process that goes back from when we were living in caves and nomads, right?
That says conformity is
survival. If we conform, we can survive. And if we don't conform, then it's scary. Because now we know in real life, if we have different things that we believe in and like, that's okay. Because there's a ton of other ways that we can connect, or we can have curiosity and interest about maybe somebody else's opinion or the things they like. But that initial reaction that we have is the, hey, you're going to have a problem, or hey, we have a problem. It's actually this fear that we're not going to fit in. That's danger to us.
Right.
And it's so deep in our brain to just have that reaction. We have to work so hard to go past it and to recognize it and not just lash out at it.
Well, you just mentioned a word that I think is key to overriding that fear.
Which word was that?
You mentioned curiosity.
Tell me why did that word stick out to you?
If I can be curious instead of intimidated, afraid, reactive, then I am opening up a possibility of connection. If I see somebody who's clearly different from me, or I hear something that's clearly different from what I believe, and instead of viewing that person or that whatever that message is as a threat,
right,
I can just say, wow, that's really different from the way I dress or the way I think or the music I listen to. I'm curious about that. Yeah. I wonder what it's like to wear that or to listen to that or to say things like that. And then all of a sudden, like, the guard is down and there is, as I mentioned, a pathway to connection.
Absolutely. Because you're opening, I think the phrase you said before, which I thought was really beautiful, was you're opening your heart. Mm-hmm. You're being a little more vulnerable. Mm-hmm. And you're allowing the space for other people to exist. Mm-hmm. And I think part of this lack of connection that we're experiencing is loneliness, that, this epidemic that we've been kind of, witnessing. I think that that's a huge part of it, is we're afraid we're not existing with other people, and we're not really allowing space for other people to exist face to face. There's a biological factor that goes into all of this too, and it has to do with oxytocin and cortisol. And there's a lot of studies, and we've heard a lot about oxytocin. I think like 10 years ago, everybody's talking about oxytocin. And now the big thing is like, what's your cortisol level? Like,
well, can we explain what oxytocin is and what cortisol is?
Oxytocin is a hormone that is responsible for love, right? Mm-hmm. It's responsible for that connection. It's responsible for feeling those feelings when we're connected to somebody, we love somebody. We find that there's really high levels of oxytocin in pregnant mothers. Mm-hmm. And when newborns are breastfeeding, there's just this high level of this love hormone. Absolutely. Cortisol is the stress hormone. Mm-hmm. Cortisol is responsible for poor sleep, high blood pressure,
belly fat.
Yeah, that mid tire, losing hair, growing hair in weird places. Cortisol is responsible for heart disease. It increases heart disease, I think, up to 5 times. Like, if your cortisol is raised, your risk for heart disease increases by, I think, 5 times. So we start to look at these two hormones that kind of counterbalance each other, right? So we want less cortisol. Cortisol is helpful sometimes. Like, we need it in certain situations when we need to like react to something if we're in danger. But we really kind of want more oxytocin. And this fascinating thing happens when you sit in a room with another human being. Just being face to face with another human being increases our levels of oxytocin.
Mm-hmm.
It can be a stranger. It can be somebody you're just meeting at the grocery store in the line.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're not picking up your phone and they're not picking up their phone, if you just say hello, your level of oxytocin increases and your cortisol decreases.
This is documented.
This is documented. This is research.
It's incredible.
Yeah. This is what we want more of.
Yeah.
So now I think about, you have all these people you cross paths with every day that you kind of see, and maybe, how often do you stop to say hi? Maybe you just give a wave. That's great. You're acknowledging, but how often do you stop to say hi, check in, just ask how they're doing, and like genuinely care? Because that's the key. It's like, we all know, like, hey, how you doing? And I give the candor, yeah, I'm fine. Everything's great. Just super busy. That's not what we're asking. We need to ask, how are you doing? No, really. That's how you start to push into this connection a little bit more.
Exactly.
You start at home, and then you start to push that out from where you live. And you start to say, okay, if you live in an apartment building, super easy. Knock on your neighbor's door and check in.
And it doesn't have to take a great investment of time either.
No.
I mean, just checking in with somebody.
3 minutes?
Yeah.
Like,
but the consistency and the repetition of it is going to build to something. It's going to build to a connection, to a sense of shared experience.
I read this funny thing. It was like, how many of us know our neighbor's Wi-Fi, like the name of their Wi-Fi, but we don't know
who they are,
who they are, what their name is, what their last name is, or anything about them. But we know what their Wi-Fi address is.
Totally.
So, and it's like, I was like, oh, that. It just kind of like struck me. I was like,
oh my God, that's genius. It's true though.
Mm-hmm.
It's totally true.
Yeah.
So we've got like this willingness to say hi. We have curiosity as another sort of, solution or means of building connection, cultivating connection. We have vulnerability, I think.
Yeah.
Like the willingness to share something that's real, that's authentic, that's not just
connecting with what's something that's true, right?
Just being honest about where you are right now.
Yeah.
So that an example would be if I see somebody I haven't seen for a while and I just lost a parent, when they say, how are you doing? To say, you know what, I'm kind of struggling right now. I just lost a parent.
Yeah. Absolutely.
It's not like being Debbie Downer, like trying to ruin or kill a conversation,
right?
But actually just being, and 9 times out of 10, I imagine if we can extend grace to that person, in the situation, we'll have something comforting to say, or something, human and authentic to say. Oh yeah, I'm really sorry. I lost my parent, or I can't imagine how that feels. I'm so sorry. If you need to talk, I'm here. Yeah.
Absolutely.
It gives us an opportunity.
We're worried about putting things out there too, because we don't want other people to have to feel like they have to take care of us.
Well, again, that goes right back to the, Neanderthal thinking of, oh gosh, if I'm a downer, I'm going to get thrown out of the herd, out of the tribe.
Yeah. If I'm a drag, if I'm a weight, if I'm anything that people have to spend too much of their time on, and I'm not pulling my end of it, then we're not going to survive.
Meanwhile, if we don't share these things, we're alone with them, and we are contributing to this epidemic of loneliness and isolation.
Absolutely.
And I'm not giving you, by not telling me about something that you're going through, you're in a way you're robbing me, somebody who cares about you, you're robbing me of the opportunity to do something nice for you.
Right.
And to get to know you.
Right.
And to find a point of connection.
So it drives the loneliness even more on both sides when you think about it. Right?
Absolutely.
The less we share, the less vulnerable we are, the more isolated we become. Right. And Kenyon, you're absolutely right. Like, we protect ourselves, but it removes the possibility for somebody else to help us, or just to be there for us. And at the end of the day, all we really want, every person really just wants to be understood, seen, heard, and just know that somebody's
and accepted.
Yeah. It's a tall list now, actually. It's getting too long.
There's
too many things. No, it's just seen and heard. No,
right.
It's accepted is nice.
And again, this irony of we are getting this message, I think about my kids, they want a phone.
Yeah.
The 7-year-old wants a phone.
I know.
And why do we want a phone? So we can be connected. So or so we think. Yeah. And in reality, what does the phone do? What does the tablet do? What do these screens do? They do, what they do? They do what like abusing drugs does. They get us alone.
Yep. Numb.
Yep. And distracted.
Yeah.
And scared.
So how many people wake up in the middle of the night, if you don't sleep through the night, and immediately grab the phone? And you could be looking through videos, you could do anything, whatever you look for. But like immediately it's grab the phone. I don't want to feel. I woke up at like 3 a.m. last night and all this, it just started spiraling. I was like, what am I like? I didn't even know what I was spiraling about. All I knew, I was like, this sucks. There's all these things that were just racing through my mind. And I realized, and then I felt myself reach for my phone. I was like, oh, I was going to like scroll through like YouTube and just like, I'm like, it's 3:30 in the morning. Like, hey, idiot, close your eyes and go back to sleep. So I did. I was like, okay, I think I'm just going to like move a little bit, took a sip of water and like took a couple really deep breaths. I did some like box breathing, belly breathing. Right. And then I was just like, I'm just going to go back to sleep. If I can't go back to sleep within 5 minutes, I'll try something else. But it was a fight. I caught myself fighting to put the phone or not reach for it. But yeah, but this is the thing. It numbs. I wasn't feeling good. I was feeling anxious. So I was like, what's the thing that's going to take me out of this right now? Right. Drugs do that really well until they don't. And I think screens, isolation, avoiding people,
And yet here, my concern with the phones in particular is that we are pushed as a society. We are conditioned to, we're so conditioned to think we need them. And they are, and conditioned to believe that they are good for us, that,
for
my
everything.
Children want them.
We need them for everything now. Getting on the subway, scanning QR codes just to log into things. Like
using ChatGPT for everything. Including companionship.
Right.
Which is the number one use of ChatGPT.
Yeah, that is a whole other, that's another 6 hours of podcast we could do.
6 years.
6 years of.
Again, and it's not to be anti-tech. It's not to be antediluvian.
I use it all the time. I love this stuff.
Yeah.
Like, out of everybody I know, I love new flashy tech, like always. But it's what do we use to balance it?
And to recognize when I'm using it as a barrier.
Yeah.
And when I'm using it to connect.
Absolutely.
Because there are great uses for the tech. There are uses for tech that can ultimately bring us together, bring us closer.
That's right.
Help us understand other people.
Fighting isolation and loneliness starts, it's an internal thing that we have to start. So we start micro. We start with ourselves, and then you push out and think of like the ripples of, if you throw a stone into a pond, think of the ripples that go out. We're going to start in the middle where the stone went in, and that's where we are. We're kind of the center, and we're going to move out. And so maybe you talk to a partner or someone in your family a little bit more, or maybe you share something like, remember that percentage, like think about your partners and what number you would assign them. And what you would need to do to just push that number up a little bit, right? When we talk about maybe some of our purpose in life, maybe it's not necessarily jobs or things or like that. Maybe sometimes our purpose in this situation is pushing that percentage up with some of the people close to us.
Letting people in a little bit more than we have.
Yeah. And then asking them so that you're pushing their number up a little bit, right? And that's the relationship. So start with a partner, start with people in your family, and then start to go outside the house a little bit.
Into like a shared space.
Into a shared space. You can do shared space. You can do anybody, your neighbors. You can do, somebody at the grocery. Just challenge yourself to ask somebody how they're doing and genuinely care and interact. Continue the conversation. Don't just be like, oh yeah, that's great, and move on. That's the challenge. I think that's a good place to start. And I want to hear what people's experiences are. I want to hear what people's feedback is about whether this has been a challenge for them or whether they're trying this and pushing themselves out. Be vulnerable a little bit and put some of that information out and see what that yields.
Just thinking twice before, or just pausing before reaching for that phone or whatever the safety mechanism is, whatever the crutch is that I am accustomed to using when I feel uncomfortable having an interaction with another human being or another idea or something like that, I think is so powerful.
Taking the pause and recognizing, what am I feeling right now? Constantly check in with yourself. I think we've lost the ability to do that because we have things readily available to pop us full of dopamine. Yeah. Phone screens, bright lights, shiny things. LEDs are great for dopamine. Like they just flood you. Right. All these things, like, hey, look, shiny stuff. And really, like we stopped checking in with how we feel. We stopped checking in with whether or not we're grounded. Just look at your feet. If you're feeling anxious, you're feeling awful, you're feeling lonely, you're feeling disconnected, I mean, literally look down at where your feet are and then walk through it. My feet are on the ground right now. My feet are cold. My feet are hot. Like, walk through it a little bit. You only have to do it for like 10, 15 seconds. You'd be amazed at how well you become grounded.
Yeah, the pause is good. The other thing I wanted to say finally is it's totally okay to be abusing our phones and to be running away and to be fear-based and not always love-based. I think that's like, this is the world we live in.
Right.
This is how we're conditioned to be. Yeah. We are, as you pointed out, responding to like some real reptile brain shit that goes way back.
We can't fight it.
Right.
We are in fact hairless monkeys, or mostly hairless monkeys. Right. So like, we're going to do some monkey shit. Like, it's okay.
Yeah. And to understand that that's the case, and to have patience and compassion for ourselves and for other people. We make so many assumptions about other people
all the time.
And when you assume, you make an ass out of you and me. I mean, who knows what somebody else is going through? So I would argue again for grace, giving others grace, giving ourselves grace to say, you know what? Yeah, I am kind of addicted to my phone. Yeah, I am kind of numbing out. And it doesn't mean I'm a bad person. It doesn't mean I'm a weak person. It does mean that I have some room to grow.
Grace and compassion. What a amazing message. To be able to pause, have grace and compassion for yourself, and grace and compassion for other people that you are walking along with.
Thank you for that.
No, thank you.
Thanks for listening to Lumen. If today's conversation resonated with you, we encourage you to follow, review, and share Lumen with anyone you think would appreciate it.
We'll be back soon with another conversation designed to bring a little more light to the human condition. I'm Christopher Mooney, LCSW.
And I'm Kenyon Phillips, LMSW.
Until next time, take care of yourselves and each other. Lumen is for educational and informational purposes only, and it is not a substitute for therapy, diagnosis, or treatment. If you are experiencing a mental health crisis, please contact local emergency services or a trusted mental health professional.